Was the second quarter of this year the biggest yet ever, allegedly in the history of Zebec? Well, according to them, yes. They even made a post about this, and I'll explain what I mean by that in today's video, even though I am not telling anyone to do anything, and even though nothing I say is financial advice. So Zebec recently released their quarterly report for the second quarter of this year. Now, this is allegedly the biggest that it's ever been for them. So they've done the most numbers when it comes to this. Let me showcase what I'm talking about, because their total card volume in the second quarter of this year was around $68 million. So we got to just let that sink in for a second, right? That's pretty impressive. Not to mention, there was around 23,000 cards that were issued, very respectable. Not to mention as well, apparently there was over 500,000 transactions, which was pretty impressive. And if we think about it as well, this was throughout 97 countries. So if we take a look at it, Zebec has quite a global presence. I mean, sure, we're talking about a project here that's not even top 100, but in terms of their core products, case in point, like for instance, their cards, it seems a little bit global to me at least. 97 countries, that's really impressive in my opinion. Now again, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but I'm just saying, this is quite legendary if I think about it for a project of this size and magnitude. So when people like to say, oh, Zebec, do they need to keep selling their supply to survive? Well, not necessarily. And I don't think they've ever done that, allegedly ever, when it comes to the team. I don't think they've ever done that, or the company, I should say. And the reason why? Just take a look at their products. They're doing pretty okay in terms of the volume and stuff like that. They don't really need to sell their supply. But yeah, even besides that point, in terms of payroll volume, Zebec, in the second quarter of this year, the monthly volume was $52 million. Quite impressive. And not to mention, they served 13,800 employees for that quarter alone. And also, the enterprise clients was 251. So when people like to say no one cares about Zebec's focus on instant payrolls, well, apparently, in the second quarter of this year, there was 250,000. Right? So that's just a very fancy way of saying 250 approximately. That's a lot of enterprises out there caring about Zebec's focus when it comes to instant payroll. So I get it. People like to tell me that, oh, no one's really going to care about that. But apparently, a lot of enterprises do. And I think if anything, this is an indication, at least to me, that Zebec's not playing around, that they're actually doing things behind the scenes. They even highlighted a couple of their accomplishments, which I've already made a video on all of them, by the way, but just to kind of give a, recap a little bit, right, in case someone didn't watch my previous videos. Zebec, in terms of Zebec Enterprise, it went live on Stellar. We also saw that Zebec had a partnership with All Unity, and that had an aspect of Stellar. Not to mention as well, Zebec, in terms of the super app, in terms of the mobile version, we're closer than it's ever been before because they already have the desktop version, but the mobile version is the one that we're looking forward to, and they've already submitted it for review basically to the App Store and the Play Store and all that. So that's another major accomplishment. Not to mention, of course, the Ripple partnership. I mean, that was really massive, right? A partnership with Ripple? I mean, come on, seriously. That is so legendary. But yeah, besides that, also, yeah, I mean, they even highlighted how World Liberty Markets is live on the Super App. So we got to think about that. That's pretty impressive. Not only does that indicate their ongoing partnership with World Liberty, but also on top of that, they're trying to integrate markets now when it comes to the Super App. What happens if they integrate something like Aave, for instance? We sometimes just got to maybe think about that. Zebec's not stopping here. I get it. People like to say, oh, they're just giving up, they're stopping. That's seemingly not the case, at least from what I can see. They're still trying to improve. For a project of this size and magnitude, again, not even top 100, doing all of this type of stuff, it's pretty commendable, and I think it's pretty respectable. I get it. It's easy to laugh it off just because the market cap as of right now is around 230 million. People are saying, well, who cares about this? But we sometimes have to consider what they're doing behind the scenes. The price charts is oftentimes not an accurate representation of what's really going on when it comes to Zebec, fundamentally speaking. And the fact that Zebec is generating those type of figures, especially in just the second quarter of this year alone, which is the largest it's ever been, keep in mind, that is so impressive. That doesn't really reflect the price charts, right? Because the price charts are not looking good, but the fundamentals and the figures are looking pretty impressive. So it's actually making a real world impact. It's just the price charts are being affected by the market sentiment, but it's not a clear indication of the fundamentals. And the fact that they have achieved the biggest quarter they've ever had so far in 2026 at a time when the market wasn't even doing the best at all. Could you just imagine that? They achieved that in 2026. The market cap at one point last year was around 540 million. This year, we never saw 500 million market cap ever when it comes to Zebec. We just didn't see it. And the fact that they had their biggest quarter ever, and I mean ever, in 2026 when the market wasn't doing the best, like, wow, that's so impressive, right? Like, how does that even make sense? Because sometimes people like to say, oh, the price charts are really bad, but how is that even possible? But sometimes when it comes to the space, that's just kind of how it works. Usually we see a good project doing really amazing, but because the market isn't doing the best, the price charts are low. But it doesn't mean that the project is lazy or not doing anything. That's typically not the case. So again, if we take a look at their quarterly report, I'm so amazed. And I'm kind of curious what the third quarter would look like, or even the fourth quarter of this year. Now, we're going to have to still wait and see, but if it was maybe exceeding these figures, it wouldn't really surprise me, just because Zebec now has more popularity, in my opinion, through the Stellar and Ripple partnership, and also what they did alongside All Unity. Not to mention, if we take a look at it, World Liberty, in terms of the markets being live on the super app, it gives Zebec more sort of, I guess, of a use case, right, in terms of the super app. Not to mention as well, if we take a look at it, Zebec, the amount of holders has been increasing in 2026, not decreasing. It actually has been increasing. I'm not joking. Zebec, as of right now, has almost 110,000 holders. When we started off this year, what was it, around 90,000? That's pretty impressive. So what, it increased by almost 20,000 like that? Or should I say by over 10,000? That's kind of legendary. In 2026, I mean, people don't really expect this, right? But that's just what's going on as of right now when it comes to Zebec. Zebec, sure, as of right now, it may be over 2 times lower than its peak last year in terms of market cap, but in terms of the fundamentals, I think it's just way better. Zebec went down around 2 times when compared to its peak last year, but in terms of the fundamentals, it's at least a couple times better. Now it actually has a partnership with Stellar and Ripple, which 2 years ago, or even just last year, a lot of people thought would never even happen. But now we're seeing that. So why wouldn't I say it got better? I think it actually did, comparatively speaking to last year. So something became cheaper, it became better. I'm not going to complain about that. I'm still dollar cost averaging. I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but seeing that quarterly report right there, it kind of reinvigorated my energy when it comes to Zebec, because I feel that it was just pretty impressive seeing those metrics or those statistics or those figures or whatever, especially in 2026. The second quarter of this year, marking their biggest quarter in history ever. Wow. It's a big and massive accomplishment. It's a 2 thumbs up for me, actually, the way I take a look at it in terms of my reaction. But I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward. I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very fantastic day.